The kind of woman who triple-checked details, delivered every project with precision, and stayed late when no one else did, fueled by a quiet ambition that had followed her since childhood. And for 3 years, she had shared her life with Adrian Brooks, a rising strategist with a smile that disarmed entire rooms and a confidence that made people believe he was born to lead. Their relationship had begun almost effortlessly, the way some of the best stories do: late-night brainstorming, inside jokes, casual coffees that turned into dinners, and eventually a kiss that blurred every professional line between them. They kept the romance private, not out of shame, but because Adrian insisted they should avoid unnecessary attention. Eleanor trusted him, believed him, loved him deeply. She imagined a future where they bought a home together, perhaps moved out of the busy city someday, built a family, and rose in the company side by side. But beneath that beautiful picture, a quiet betrayal had been growing like rot in the foundation. It started small, with Adrian becoming distant, distracted, and oddly protective of his schedule. There were nights he claimed he had sudden meetings, weekends when he disappeared under the excuse of urgent strategy deadlines, and messages he hid the moment she entered the room. She told herself it was stress. The company was preparing for its biggest campaign yet, the Donsworth Luxury Estates project, a multi-million-pound campaign expected to elevate the entire firm. Eleanor poured her soul into building the perfect concept, creating research documents, visual styles, consumer behavior maps, and fresh branding angles that even senior strategists praised. Adrian encouraged her every night, telling her that this was her moment, that she was surely going to be chosen as project lead. He kissed her forehead, held her hand, spoke with warmth that made her believe they were a team. But everything changed the morning the announcement came. The team gathered in the glass-walled conference space, buzzing with anticipation, and Eleanor felt her heart racing with excitement. But when the CEO revealed the project lead, the name wasn't hers. It was Adrian's. The applause echoed in her ears like a distant storm. Adrian didn't look at her, didn't acknowledge the promise he made, didn't address the betrayal simmering in that moment. Instead, he smiled at the team, thanked the executives, and accepted the position built on the foundation of her ideas. Confusion turned to suspicion when two junior analysts whispered near her desk later that afternoon, thinking she couldn't hear. "I thought Eleanor designed that concept," one said. "She did," the other whispered back. "But Adrian stayed late last Friday and pitched it alone." The truth landed like a blow to her chest. Adrian had stolen her work, her concepts, her research, her hours of thought, and repackaged them as his own to secure the promotion he had always wanted for himself. When she confronted him that evening in his flat, he shrugged with a coldness she had never seen before. "Ellie, it's business. You share ideas, I refine them. Don't take it personally." Something inside her cracked. But the real shattering happened 2 weeks later. She stayed late to finalize a proposal for another client, and as she walked past the boardroom close to midnight, she heard laughter, specifically Adrian's. Curious, she paused, and her heart stopped when she saw who he was with: Victoria Langford, the CEO's beautiful, impeccably dressed niece, recently hired as a senior consultant. Victoria playfully touched Adrian's arm, leaning closer as he whispered something into her ear, and then she rested her hand on his chest with a softness that made Eleanor's stomach twist. Adrian didn't step back. He didn't look conflicted. He looked comfortable, happy, intimate. Eleanor's heart felt like it was breaking in silence. She didn't confront them. She didn't cry. She walked away, her soul numb, and took the train home in a fog of heartbreak and confusion. But something profound happened that night. Her pain crystallized into clarity. She realized she had loved a man who feared her success, who built his ambitions on her brilliance, who took from her and gave nothing back. And she realized that if she stayed quiet, she would become a stepping stone in a story where he rose and she disappeared. That was the night she made a decision not to hurt him physically, not to argue or plead or explain. No, she would break him, using the very thing he underestimated: her intelligence. Over the next days, she studied Adrian's patterns, tracked Victoria's involvement, gathered copies of emails, drafts, and timestamps proving she was the true creator of the Donsworth campaign. She noticed Adrian's overconfidence had made him sloppy. He stored sensitive files carelessly, left his laptop unattended, forwarded documents through unsecured channels, believing he was untouchable now that he had Victoria's influence behind him. And that was how Eleanor began to craft her revenge, a strategic, surgical dismantling of the empire Adrian thought he was building. First, she created a convincingly realistic email from Donsworth's legal department, requesting confidential internal insights. She forwarded it to Adrian right before his meeting prep, knowing he was desperate to impress the clients. As predicted, he panicked and forwarded the restricted documents without a second thought. Within minutes, she forwarded his response to the real legal counsel, who immediately flagged it as a major breach of company protocol. Strike one. Next came the presentation sabotage. She replaced the final campaign file on the shared drive with an outdated, error-filled early draft, the one Adrian once mocked her for because it lacked polish. She knew he wouldn't check the file beforehand. Arrogance had made him reckless. On presentation day, with the full board and Donsworth investors watching, Adrian opened the file and froze. The room stared at the disaster unfolding on the screen: incorrect figures, broken design layouts, incomplete branding. Worst of all was a note scribbled on one slide in his own handwriting. "This draft is terrible. Eleanor, fix it." Gasps filled the room. Adrian stammered, hands shaking. The CEO's face reddened with irritation. Victoria looked horrified. And that was Eleanor's cue. Smoothly, calmly, she stood up and addressed the board. She presented a meticulously organized folder of evidence proving she had created the campaign, not Adrian. She did not raise her voice. She did not accuse. She simply displayed undeniable truth. Emails, drafts, time logs, concept boards, legal counsel's breach report. Adrian collapsed under the weight of everything he had tried to hide. He was suspended on the spot. Victoria was pulled into a private meeting to explain her inappropriate involvement, and rumors swirled that she would be demoted or quietly removed. But the board members, impressed by Eleanor's integrity and skill, offered her the position Adrian tried to steal. She became project lead. She received a significant promotion, a salary increase, and a public commendation from the firm. Adrian tried calling her over and over that night, but she blocked every number. A week later, he ambushed her outside the office, looking nothing like the confident man she once loved. His hair was unkempt, his voice shaky, his eyes glassy with desperation. "Ellie, please just listen," he pleaded. "I messed up. I was scared. You're so good at everything, and I felt like I was always behind you. I thought if I got ahead, I could finally be enough for you. I love you." Eleanor stared at him, and for the first time, she felt absolutely nothing. No anger, no longing, just clarity. "You didn't lose me because you were behind," she said softly. "You lost me because you betrayed me. You tried to bury me to build yourself. But when you try to bury a woman who knows her worth, all you do is plant her power." Adrian reached for her arm, but she stepped back. "Goodbye, Adrian." She walked away, leaving him standing alone. Under her leadership, the Donsworth campaign became the most successful project the company had launched in years. Her colleagues admired her, her confidence grew, and she rebuilt her entire life with strength born from pain. She bought her own flat overlooking the river, traveled alone for the first time, reconnected with old friends, and found a sense of peace she hadn't felt in years. Months later, she opened an email from the board offering her the position of creative director years earlier than she ever expected. She smiled as she read it, not out of spite, but out of triumph. Eleanor Hayes had not just survived betrayal, she had risen from it, stronger, wiser, and unstoppable. Adrian had tried to use her brilliance to build his future, but instead, he had handed her the power to create her greatest chapter yet.